people on board vanishing just an hour and 45 minutes into its dive. Missing more than 24 hours. They started with 96 hours of air. The U.S. Coast Guard combing the Atlantic. The wreckage of the Titanic rests 2.5 miles below the ocean surface. James Longman is standing by. Also tonight, severe storm threats from Louisiana to Florida. A confirmed tornado touching down in Mississippi. Reports of 8 people trapped inside a bank. Flooding in Alabama. Water rescues are underway. And just a short time ago, Tropical Storm Brett forming in the Atlantic. Ginger Z tracking it all. New reports of letters containing white powder targeting lawmakers and public officials in Kansas. Now more than 100 letters found. Federal law enforcement sources tell ABC News postal inspectors intercepted letters addressed to former President Trump and Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas. The high-stakes meeting in Beijing, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken face-to-face with China's President Xi. The meeting was confirmed only 1 hour before it began. Matt Rivers in Beijing. The war in Ukraine. New images of grueling trench warfare between Ukrainian and Russian fighters. Ukraine now claims to have driven Russian forces out of 8 villages since the start of its latest counteroffensive. Ian Pannell in Ukraine. Here at home, new images of the daring rescue in dangerous waters. The houseboat going under with several people trapped inside. Other boaters jumping to the rescue. The popular musician Bebe Rexha injured on stage here in New York, hit in the face by a cell phone thrown by someone in the crowd. What the singer is saying tonight. And on this Juneteenth, a celebration of freedom across the U.S.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York. This is World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us on this Juneteenth holiday. I'm Lindsay Davis in for David. We begin tonight with the urgent search for a deep-sea submersible vehicle missing in the Atlantic Ocean with 5 people on board. They began a dive to see the wreckage of the Titanic Sunday morning. 1 hour and 45 minutes later, all contact was lost. The submersible is a state-of-the-art vehicle developed with the help of NASA. It's deployed from a larger ship, which remains on the surface as the smaller craft dives below. A handful of tourists pay to travel with research scientists to see the Titanic. The company recently shared the most high-resolution images ever seen of the doomed ship. U.S. Coast Guard is now joined in the search, probing a remote area some 900 miles off the coast of Massachusetts. The Coast Guard says the 5 on board had enough oxygen to survive for 96 hours. Tonight, the clock is ticking down. ABC's James Longman leads us off.
Tonight, a race against time in the desperate search for a missing submersible carrying 5 crew members touring the wreckage of the Titanic. The US and Canadian Coast Guards scouring an area over 900 miles off the coast of Massachusetts, deploying radars and sonars capable of searching above and below the water.
We're working very closely at this point to make sure that we're doing everything that we can do to locate the submersible and rescue those on board.
The ship left Newfoundland, Canada on Friday, carrying a submersible operated by OceanGate Expeditions. That vessel started its voyage down to the Titanic Sunday morning. Officials say an hour and 45 minutes into that dive, the ship lost contact with the sub and alerted the Coast Guard. OceanGate says a crew of 5 has enough oxygen to survive for 96 hours.
There could have been an accident. It could have become entangled in the wreckage of Titanic. It could indeed have had a catastrophic failure. The answer is we don't know just yet.
We are taking scans of the wreck.
Since 2021, OceanGate Expeditions has offered tourists paying roughly $250,000 a chance to travel with scientists studying the doomed ocean liner 2 miles down at the bottom of the ocean. That tour aboard a submersible called Titan. It's the only one in the world able to carry 5 people to Titanic depths.
An epic voyage to the world's most famous shipwreck. This is a rare opportunity for you to explore Titanic as an actual member of the expedition crew.
The sub itself doesn't have a GPS, but it's guided to the wreckage site by the ship above via text message. The round trip is at least 8 hours long. The sub is supposed to rise to the surface if there are any problems.
There is a mechanism whereby you can release weight and this thing can float to the surface. So I'm just hoping that that works.
Tonight, ABC News is learning that among the missing passengers, British billionaire Hamish Harding, his company confirming he was on board He posted on Facebook hours before the dive. A weather window has just opened up, and we're going to attempt to dive tomorrow. More expedition updates to follow if the weather holds.
Time's certainly of the essence. James joins us now. James, what more do we know about who was on board and how the Coast Guard is searching for them tonight?
Well, Lindsay, there's one pilot or commander on board and what they call 4 mission specialists. They include those paying passengers. Now, the Coast Guard says they're using sonar buoys to listen for any sound in the water. Lindsay?
James, thank you. And as we come on tonight, dangerous storms are slamming the south after a deadly tornado outbreak. 20 reported tornadoes over the weekend, at least 6 more today, including this confirmed tornado in Moss Point, Mississippi, trapping 8 people inside this bank and causing widespread damage. A flooding threat in Alabama after heavy rain there, and now a new tropical storm is brewing named Brett. ABC's chief meteorologist Ginger Z is tracking it all.
Tonight, a tornado ripping across southeastern Mississippi. In the town of Moss Point, 8 people were trapped inside M&M Bank. All were rescued safely. There's widespread damage, though, to homes and businesses, and the cleanup is just now underway. Nearby, in Mobile, Alabama, the National Weather Service issuing a flash flood emergency after more than a foot of rain fell across parts of the Gulf Coast. Life-threatening flash flooding still happening tonight, a product of persistent storms for days. All of this after a weekend of wild weather, 20 reported tornadoes across 8 states, including this tornado in Jasper County, Mississippi, killing 1 and injuring nearly 24 people less than 24 hours ago.
Let's get right to Ginger Z. Ginger, these severe storms are expected into the night.
Yes, Lindsay, they're happening as we speak with still a ton of rain falling. So Destin in Florida, Pensacola, Mobile still under a flood watch. But you see the pink back in Texas, San Angelo included. That's a severe thunderstorm watch for damaging winds, especially until 10. This same front, kind of active with that subtropical jet stream that's been in the same spot, very rare for this time in June, is going to be active again tomorrow. So if you live in Lafayette to New Orleans, in the afternoon, I want you to be prepared. Have 2 ways of getting warnings because damaging winds with really strong stuff there can be blasting through, especially as folks are, if you're still in school, getting back to school or out of work. Now, dangerous heat. We've been talking about excessive heat warnings now for day 8 or 9, depending on your location. It'll feel tomorrow like 117 from Dallas to Austin, Houston 113, and New Orleans 109. That doesn't break for a lot of folks until late week or the weekend. But then we've got to turn our attention to Brett because it is a tropical storm now in the Atlantic. It is the earliest this far east in Atlantic basin records. So it's going to head toward the Eastern Caribbean for this weekend. We'll keep looking at impacts there, but this thing formed so early because water temperatures are 4 to 5 degrees Fahrenheit above average. Lindsay?
Lots of activity. We know you'll be following it for us, Ginger. Thank you. Now to the growing number of threatening letters containing our mysterious white powder. More than 100 now found to lawmakers and officials in Kansas. And tonight, federal law enforcement sources tell ABC News they were also sent to former President Trump and Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, but that postal inspectors intercepted them. Here's ABC senior investigative reporter Aaron Katursky.
At first, envelopes containing a suspicious powdery substance were discovered in the mailboxes of a few dozen Kansas lawmakers. But tonight, the list of intended recipients is growing. More than 100 Kansas officials have now received letters, and federal law enforcement sources tell ABC News letters were also addressed to former President Trump, Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, and other high-profile individuals, though we're told the postal inspectors intercepted those letters before they were delivered. It appears most of the letters were sent to Kansas Republicans, including Attorney General Chris Kobach and State Representative Tori Marie Blue, who told us she threw hers into a flower pot. She shared this photo of hazmat teams responding.
It was just in your typical letter envelope, and at the very bottom of it, you could feel that it was very thick.
At least one letter included a message saying it is important not to choke on your ambition, but one lawmaker described the note as cryptic and lacking sense. Kansas Republicans called the letters a cowardly attempt to intimidate the legislature and asked lawmakers to remain vigilant and cautious while opening their mail. State Senator Stephen Owens noticed a fake return address of a local church on the letter he received.
It was quite terrifying, right? I mean, this is the stuff that you ultimately see in movies, hardly real life stuff.
The powder was sent to a lab for testing. It came back negative for any concerning biological agent. Still, Lindsay, the recipient said these letters have made the last few days stressful. Lindsay?
Unnerving, we can imagine, Aaron. Thank you. Now to the staggering toll from a weekend of gun violence across this country. More mass shootings than days of the year so far. Hundreds shot, more than 20 at a Juneteenth celebration outside Chicago. ABC's Alex Perez is there.
Tonight, communities mourning after a rash of deadly gun violence across the nation. Just outside Chicago at a Juneteenth celebration, police say more than 20 people were shot in a strip mall parking lot late Saturday night.
400 people outside, females screaming, report of gunshots.
One killed, others injured fleeing the gunfire.
We just started her to shoot. Cut before we had us, so we dropped down.
Police say an unknown number of suspects fired multiple weapons into the crowd. Those suspects is still at large. The White House responding today.
It's devastating. It's tragic. This type of gun violence needs to stop.
Across Chicago, police say at least 10 people killed, 60 more injured in shootings. And in the small town of Kellogg, Idaho, police finding 4 people shot dead inside a residence, one suspect taken into custody. In Washington state, authorities say at least 2 people killed and another 3 injured after a gunman opened fire near a music festival Saturday night. The sheriff's department says the shooter fired randomly into the crowd. A suspect, also injured, now in custody.
And Lindsay, officers also responded to mass shootings in San Francisco, Baltimore, and Philadelphia. According to the Gun Violence Archive, at least 132 people were killed this holiday weekend. Lindsay?
Alex, thank you. And now to that high-stakes meeting in Beijing, which was never a sure thing. Secretary of State Antony Blinken shaking hands with China's President Xi. The meeting was confirmed just 1 hour before. Then a 35-minute meeting with delegations from both sides. Secretary Blinken says they reopened lines of communication. ABC's Matt Rivers is in Beijing.
With tight smiles and a short handshake, a crucial moment tonight in superpower diplomacy. Secretary of State Antony Blinken face-to-face with China's President Xi Jinping in Beijing. Xi calling it, quote, very good. Both sides made progress.
It's in the interest of the United States, in the interest of China, and in the interest of the world.
The 35-minute meeting was never a sure thing. Confirmed just an hour before it began, the will they or won't they suspense a reflection of how tenuous the U.S.-China relationship has become. Blinken had planned to visit in February. That trip postponed when a Chinese spy balloon crossed into U.S. airspace and President Biden ordered it shot down. The relationship just getting worse from there as Xi strengthens his bond with Russia's Vladimir Putin, and a series of flashpoints erupt in the South China Sea around Taiwan. A Chinese destroyer coming within 150 yards of a U.S. warship in international waters. A Chinese fighter jet streaking near a U.S. military plane, a move the Pentagon called dangerous and unnecessary. Direct military-to-military communication remains largely closed off between the countries.
I think that's an issue that we have to keep working on. It is very important that we restore those channels.
Blinken's 36 hours on the ground here, a whirlwind of talks. Key topics, Taiwan, fentanyl, and lethal aid to Russia in its war against Ukraine, something China said it will not provide. Progress, yes, but limited at best.
The meetings that we had, I thought, were very candid, very in-depth, and in places constructive. And in other places, we have a lot more work to do.
Matt Rivers joins us now from Beijing. And Matt, for years, relations with China have been tense at best. The stakes for this visit really could not have been higher.
That's exactly right, Lindsay. President Biden saying that Secretary Blinken did, quote, a hell of a job here in Beijing. It really was an incredibly important meeting. No one issue, though, contentious issue more than Taiwan. China angry over the United States' continued support for that island, and the United States likely not changing that posture anytime soon, which means the relationship between these two countries, Lindsay, will remain fractured.
Matt, thank you. Next tonight, a federal magistrate has agreed to impose a protective order to prevent former President Trump from sharing evidence in the classified documents case. Special counsel Jack Smith asked for the order because some of the evidence may be classified or relate to other ongoing investigations. The order also applies to the former president's co-defendant, his longtime aide, Walt Nauta. Now to the war in Ukraine. Powerful new images of the bitter battle tonight. Trench warfare and close combat as Ukraine wages its counteroffensive, claiming to have retaken an 8th village. But the fighting is taking a heavy toll. ABC's chief foreign correspondent Ian Pannell in Ukraine for us once again.
Tonight, Ukrainian troops say they've driven Russian troops back in their counter-offensive, claiming an 8th village. This video, filmed in Petykhatki in the south and posted on the Ukrainian Armed Forces official Telegram channel, claims to show troops liberating the village after days of reported heavy fighting. Meanwhile, Ukrainian Special Operations Forces releasing this dramatic and graphic video, claiming to show fighting in Russian-occupied trenches towards the Zaporizhia direction last week. The soldier sweeps through the dugout in what they say was a surprise attack, methodically hunting down and killing enemy troops as the Russians appear caught off guard and unable to respond. Special forces telling ABC News they killed 10 Russians, although they've released only part of the video which shows 3 deaths. But the Russians putting up a stiff resistance elsewhere, and the Ukrainian advance has so far been slow. Today, the Ukrainians acknowledging the Russian troops have reinforced and are launching offensive operations in the east and northeast of the country.
Lindsay, Ukraine's commander-in-chief tonight insisting that the operation continues as planned. Despite some claims, there's a pause in the counter-offensive, but he does admit that the Russians have a system of fortifications, including dense mining. Expect they're going to be slow and deadly. Lindsay?
Ian, thank you. And in the Middle East, Israeli forces raiding the West Bank refugee camp, deploying helicopter gunships for the first time in decades. The Israelis storming in to arrest 2 wanted militants. The Palestinians fighting back, ambushing Israeli armored vehicles with explosives. At least 5 Palestinians were killed, including a 15-year-old boy. Dozens of Palestinians and 8 Israeli soldiers were wounded in fighting that raged for hours. When we come back, the daring rescue in rough waters off Florida, other boaters rushing in as a houseboat goes under, and the popular singer injured on stage, hit by a cell phone thrown from the crowd.
It's easy to think that all money managers are pretty much the same, but at Fisher Investments, we're clearly different.
Different how? You sell high commission investment products, right?
Nope, Fisher avoids it.
Well, you must earn commissions on trades.
Never at Fisher Investments.
Okay, then you probably sneak in some hidden and layered fees.
No, we structure our fees so we do better when clients do better. That might be why most of our clients come from other money managers. At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different.
Want a worry-free way to kill bugs? Zevo traps use light to attract and trap flying insects with no odor and no mess. They work continuously, so you don't have to. Zevo, people-friendly, bug-deadly.
What if my type 2 diabetes takes over?
What if all I do isn't enough? Or what if I can do diabetes differently?
Now you can with Once Weekly Mounjaro. Mounjaro helps your body regulate blood sugar. And Mounjaro can help decrease how much food you eat. 3 out of 4 people reached an A1C of less than 7%. Plus, people taking Mounjaro lost up to 25 pounds. Mounjaro is not for people with type 1 diabetes or children. Don't take Mounjaro if you're allergic to it. You or your family have medullary thyroid cancer or multiple endocrine neoplasia syndrome type 2. Stop Mounjaro and call your doctor right away if you have an allergic reaction, a lump or swelling in your neck, severe stomach pain, vision changes, or diabetic retinopathy. Serious side effects may include pancreatitis and gallbladder problems. Taking Mounjaro with sulfonylurea or insulin raises low blood sugar risk. Tell your doctor if you're nursing, pregnant, or plan to be. Side effects include nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea, which can cause dehydration and may worsen kidney problems.
I can do diabetes differently with Mounjaro.
Ask your doctor about Once Weekly Mounjaro.
Tonight, new images of a daring rescue in rough waters off Florida. Video shows a houseboat adrift and battered by large waves near Panama City. The houseboat goes down. Another boater seen jumping into the water, boarding the houseboat and smashing a window to get everyone out. 3 fishermen move in, dodging debris to help pull them on board. They also rescued someone on a pontoon boat as well. Fortunately, everyone managed to make it safely back to shore. When we come back, the popular singer injured on stage here in New York.
Martial arts is my passion,
I work out whenever I can.
but with my moderate to severe eczema, it can
Noticeably less itch. Serious allergic reactions can occur that can be severe. Tell your doctor about new or worsening eye problems such as eye pain or vision changes, including blurred vision, joint aches and pain, or a parasitic infection. Don't change or stop asthma medicines without talking to your doctor. Ask your doctor about Dupixent.
The man with the troublesome hemorrhoid enters the room.
Excuse me.
That wasn't me, said Hillary, who was only taking 347 steps today. I cycled here. Speaking of cycles, Mary's period is due to start in 3 days.
How do they know so much about us?
You're all sharing health data without realizing it. That's how I know about Kevin's rash. Who's next? Wait, what's that in your hand? No, stop! Well, you're no fun.
Want luxury hair repair that doesn't cost $50? Pantene's Pro Vitamin formula repairs hair, as well as the leading luxury bonding treatment for softness and resilience without the price tag. If you know it's Pantene.
I'm still tasting what's next, even with higher stroke risk due to AFib not caused by a heart valve problem. So if there's a better treatment than warfarin, I'm hungry for that. Eliquis. Eliquis reduces stroke risk better than warfarin and has less major bleeding than warfarin. Eliquis has both.
Don't stop taking Eliquis without talking to your doctor, as this may increase your risk of stroke. Eliquis can cause serious and, in rare cases, fatal bleeding. Don't take Eliquis if you have an artificial heart valve or abnormal bleeding. While taking, you may bruise more easily or take longer for bleeding to stop. Get help right away for unexpected bleeding or unusual bruising. It may increase your bleeding risk if you take certain medicines. Tell your doctor about all planned medical or dental procedures.
The #1 cardiologist prescribed blood thinner. Ask your doctor about Eliquis.
We never just see the numbers. We see what it looks like to support the next generation by first supporting this one. The possibilities that can grow when an idea takes root and is given the freedom to grow wild. How we can come together to overcome life's greatest challenges. And when people develop new skills, they can develop a whole community. That's why we're here, to help make it happen. Feeling sluggish or weighed down could be a sign that your digestive system isn't at its best. But a little Metamucil every day can help. Metamucil psyllium fiber gels to trap and remove the waste that weighs you down, and also helps lower cholesterol and slows sugar absorption to promote healthy blood sugar levels. So you can feel lighter and more energetic. Lighten every day the Metamucil way. And Metamucil psyllium fiber also comes in easy-to-take capsules.
To the index, singer Bebe Rexha injured on stage, hit by a cell phone while performing in New York. Video shows the phone thrown by someone in the crowd, hitting her right in the face. She needed help getting off the stage. She posted images following the concert showing 3 stitches above a black eye and telling fans, "I'm good." A suspect was arrested and charged with assault. When we come back from Galveston, Texas to the nation's capital, America celebrates Juneteenth.
My active psoriatic arthritis can make me feel like I'm losing my rhythm. With Skyrizi to treat my skin and joints, I'm getting into my groove. Along with significantly clearer skin, Skyrizi helps me move with less joint pain, stiffness, swelling, and fatigue. And it's just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses. Skyrizi attaches to and reduces the source of excess inflammation that can lead to skin and joint symptoms. With Skyrizi, 90% cure skin and less joint pain are possible.
Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms, had a vaccine, or plan to.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing like clearer skin and better movement. And that means everything. Now's the time to ask your doctor about Skyrizi. Learn how AbbVie can help you save.
Hey, Jamie. So, what am I up to? Just visiting a special secret client. Can't say who it is, but let's just say she bundled her dream house and her dream car for around-the-clock protection with Progressive. She has another house in Malibu. She's been an astronaut, an architect, a CEO.
We're in front of her house, Dave.
Well, I'd love to tell you who her boyfriend is, but I don't think I can. I'd love to tell you, but I don't think I can.
Marty, only in theaters July 21st.
Hey, Dad.
I got an A in my book report.
That's cool.
And I went for a walk in the woods, and I didn't get a single flea or tick on me.
You are just the best.
Right? I'm great.
You are great.
This flea and tick season, trust America's #1 pet pharmacy, Chewy.
When you really need to sleep, you reach for the really good stuff. ZzzQuil Ultra helps you sleep better and longer when you need it most. It's non-habit forming and powered by the makers of NyQuil. ZzzQuil Ultra, when you really, really need to sleep.
I brought in Ensure Max Protein with 30 grams of protein. Those who tried me felt more energy in just 2 weeks. Here, I'll take that.
Ensure Max Protein with 30 grams of protein, 1 gram of sugar. Enter the Nourishing Moments giveaway for a chance to win $10,000.
If you wake up thinking about the markets and want to make the right moves fast, get Decision Tech for insights on when to buy and sell and proactive alerts on market events. That's Decision Tech, only from Fidelity.
Dupixent helps you do more with less asthma and can help you breathe better in as little as 2 weeks. Dupixent is an add-on treatment for specific types of moderate to severe asthma that's not for sudden breathing problems. Dupixent can cause allergic reactions that can be severe. Get help right away if you have rash, chest pain, worsening shortness of breath, tingling or numbness in your limbs. Tell your doctor about new or worsening joint aches and pain or a parasitic infection. Don't change or stop asthma medicines, including steroids, without talking to your doctor. Ask your specialist about Dupixent.
25 years ago, magic happened, and these women forever changed TV. And now, just like that, take a walk with Sarah Jessica Parker and Diane Sawyer. Oh, I love it. Tomorrow morning,
Kim Cattrall is coming back for a scene.
only on GMA.
Finally tonight, a celebration of freedom, the images of Juneteenth across the country. Tonight, from California to Kentucky, Michigan to New York, communities coming together on this national holiday, marking and honoring Juneteenth, the end of slavery in the U.S. In Johnstown, Pennsylvania, young volunteers helping to repaint an End Racism Now mural on Main Street. Celebrations in many towns, including Galveston, Texas, the birthplace of Juneteenth, where Union troops arrived to tell the enslaved they were free 2.5 years after Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation. In Washington, D.C. today, thousands lining up outside the National Archives to see the Emancipation Proclamation, including husband and wife Derek and Renee O'Neill.
I'm so proud of the fact that it has taken place and that we're here.
And the fact that the whole country is embracing it, not just African Americans, but it's Black history, is American history.
American history.
And this truly, brings it home, that fact.
No doubt about it.
So.
In Fort Worth, Texas, for years now, 96-year-old Opal Lee has led a 2.5-mile walk representing those long 2.5 years. Tonight, that retired teacher and activist, who many call the grandmother of Juneteenth for her work in making it a national holiday, says, let us keep fighting and march in unity. And from Santa Barbara, California to Detroit, Michigan, Black-owned businesses gathering together saying they are grateful to their communities.
We can't do anything alone. And so to have everybody come together to really celebrate Black people in the city of Detroit is a great thing.
Well, back in Washington, D.C., the Robinson family celebrating Juneteenth together, saying they're hopeful.
I think we're progressing forward every day. People from all walks of life here in this line, all colors. So I think that's powerfully impactful.
Optimistic about progress and love seeing Opal back out there. And in celebration of Juneteenth, Hip Hop at 50, a Soul of the Nation presentation airs tonight at 10 Eastern right here on ABC. We thank you so much for watching. I'm Lindsay Davis for David and all of us here. Good night.
Thank you for making World News Tonight with David Muir, America.